Hello from England. Today I want to talk about cider. When it comes to sparkling wine as an experience with sparkling drinks, we usually think about champagne. And as a loyal listener of this podcast, you might know that champagne saw a decline of over 8% in the year 2023, while Cremant, Prosecco, and cider saw a steady growth of 6 to 7%, depending on the category. And especially the demand for premium products, for artisanal, crafted products, especially in the cider category, is responsible for this growth. So I thought if a high class cider is able to replace a high quality sparkling wine, why not invite a guy who really knows what he's doing? My friend Guillaume Lagger from the Warri Experience in the New Forest in England. He has been making wine and cider for over 5 years now in England. And my first high quality cider was a product I disgorged with him in May this year, the cider. And today we want to talk about what is a high quality cider, what are the main factors creating, crafting the quality of this product, and how can we get people access to those kind of products? And super interesting episode for me. And in the end, hopefully, your picture of cider, especially of high quality cider, will not be the same as usual. Have fun with this special aptly episode. Welcome to the Pinot Pixel podcast episode number 207. Today I'm joined by Guillaume Lagger, the magician who is responsible for the Pinot Noir that won our Sideways tasting 2 weeks ago. But today we're going to talk about cider. Cider is a thing that is quite popular in England, I would say. There's a huge pub culture. There's cider available on tap almost everywhere. And I discovered through Guillaume that there is cider that is quite close to champagne, or sometimes even better when it comes to quality. And today we try to figure out how this is possible and how we could get our hands on a product like this. So the basic question is, you told me that you are a winery, you're a winemaker.
Yep.
You're not a cider maker, but you are a cidery. And you play around with 5 products at the moment. Can you take us on a journey how the process is running through? Like, how does it work?
So, for me, the most important is the fruit first. As I'm a winemaker, I'm trying to look at the fruit as the same way as the grapes. And then the idea is to have a fermentation, sometimes some skin contact, sometimes not. And then have a still cider. You can say it as a still cider. It's a bit less popular, a bit more difficult to sell. So my answer for that is going for sparkling and champagne yeast, second fermentations. Peas level, we are probably half a sparkling wine, a bit more, depending which ones. And then lees aging, which shows great results for the moment.
So basically the process is the same like making sparkling wine.
Exactly the same.
You have 3 possibilities like carbonating, carbonization. You can do it in a tank, which should probably be quite difficult.
I don't know any, but you should be able to.
And then you can do it like champagne, second fermentation in the bottle.
Yeah.
And the yeast is the same, like champagne yeast?
To ferment the cider, I know there is some, you can use strains, which are for cider. I don't. Most of my cider are wild yeast for the ferments.
For the first
one.
Yeah.
And then champagne yeast
For the second.
for the second. The same I'm using for the sparkling wine.
Just to be stable and consistent.
Yeah, safety.
And they end up with 5 to 6 bar as well?
No,
like
half.
champagne?
It's about a bit more than half. I'm adding probably around 15 to 18 grams of sugar. So that is 4.5.
Okay.
After disgorgement, maybe a bit slightly less.
But the base wine before the second fermentation is totally dry.
Yeah.
But the alcohol level is way lower.
Yes,
Most people are probably 5 to 6.
Yeah, 6.5.
And how much is added up with the second fermentation?
About 1%.
Okay, so it's lower than with normal wine?
Yeah.
So the final product sits around, what is it, 7.5?
At the moment, they're all around 7.5.
That's pretty good, actually, especially for people who are looking for like lower alcohol wines. We're in England. most of the wines are sitting between 9 and 11
Yeah.
with the normal climate. But at least
It's a
for...
bit lower. It's a bit lower.
Yeah.
The thing is, you are allowed with cider to add a bit of water.
Oh, okay.
So you can,
Why that?
to have it less strong.
During the first fermentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the juice, I think it's allowed. Because if you look at cider in pubs, there are 4, sometimes 3/8, 4/5. So it's impossible if you have 100% pure juice. You're at least at 5
Okay.
without second fermentation. So if you want lower, you can add a bit of water or keep some sugar. That's some people do that also. They stop the fermentation.
So talking about quality, it feels like the steps that you have to look on are almost the same like with wine. So high quality fruit in the beginning, then a well gone fermentation in the first step, and a stable fermentation in the second, and then of course the lees aging.
Yes.
And are the aromas that are developing during the second fermentation similar to the champagne ones or the sparkling wines?
On what? So those ciders, they have now made in 2020, 21. So they are between 2 and 3 years on lease. They are still evolving. For me, cider evolved slower than wine. It's quite a slow process. So the 3 years is now, showing a little bit more baking, yeasty characters. Can probably still a bit further. The side by cider, which was aged in barrel, get a bit more sweetness and roundness too. It's probably a bit less obvious than a sparkling wine, which is very thin, very precise. But you have, at least those characters.
What about the complexity of the varieties that you can put in?
So cider varieties is mostly normally blending. So we have 3 kinds of apples. We have the bitter, the sweet, and the sharp. Some are bitter sweet, some are bitter sharp.
Okay.
So we have 5, in fact, with 2 medium. But very few are balanced on their own. So you have Dabinet, which is one of them on some years, the one you have here. You have Kingston Black, which is quite famous to be single variety, single vintage ciders. But most of the cider are blend between variety, between vintage, a bit more like a champagne.
And is it also like you have like grapes in wine that are really built to be ending up in a wine, and then you have table grapes? Are there table apples?
Yeah, the one you're buying supermarkets.
Yeah. Is there any cider made of it?
Side by cider.
Ah, yeah.
Cooking and eating.
Cooking and eating apples.
But there's not, in some competition they call it modern cider.
Okay.
So you don't have the tannins from the cider varieties. So it's much more about acidity, freshness, and in that case a bit of lees and barrel.
So it's sweeter in the beginning, lower in acidity, lower in tannins.
Yeah, higher in acids.
High in acid. Okay.
Yeah, because basically the cider varieties, you almost wait till they fall from the trees, so they are really ripe.
Okay.
As you cannot wait for your eating apple to fall because they don't.
Or they're
keep.
eaten up by worms.
Yeah. So what you normally when you pick your eating and cooking on the trees, they are ripe to eat. Not exactly ripe to ciders. It's why the acid is sometimes very high. And cooking in England is Bramley apple, which is really high in acids, which are trying to get 20-30% max in the blend.
Okay.
And then it's dozens of variety. Gala, the Cox, the Rosettes, some Golden, and anything I can find.
I mean, you planted your orchard in the back of the winery, and I mean, I guess most of us remember the time when we were children and we were picking apples in our own garden.
Yeah.
How do you harvest apples like this when it's coming to, I don't know, 500 liters of cider in the end?
So you will wait the apple to be falling in a way or start to fall.
Okay.
So some people put nets under the trees, then shake the trees, and you just
Makes sense.
harvest. Or if you're big enough, you have machines to harvest on the ground. But basically, it's picking in the trees, it's collecting from the ground.
So you have a basket and you just collect them.
Yeah, or crates, and you just put.
And how many apples do I need usually for a bottle of cider?
So with my press, I have roughly 50 to it's a bit between 50 to 60% juice. For 1 kilo is not exactly a bottle, so a bit less juicy than wine.
Okay.
So a kilo and a half, maybe a bit more than a kilo and a half to have 1 bottle of sparkling size wine.
That's quite a lot. I wouldn't have expected that. It's so much water.
But yeah,
it's
then
juice.
but then some years it's more juicy.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of rain, it's a bit more watery, and also so you crush the apple, and sometimes you can leave them on skins for a few days. That help to break them. Side by cider is part of that. By leaving on skins, you break a bit the cells, and you have a bit more juice, a bit more easier, and give a bit more this almost like tarte tatin, very ripe baked apple
Yeah.
on the nose, which sometimes stay in the cider, sometimes not.
What happens to the skins after you finish the pressing?
Few times I gave them to a local farmer who has some pigs.
Ah, okay. Food.
Yeah, or compost.
Compost. Okay.
And once someone took some to put cheese, to age cheese in, but most of the time it's compost or the pigs.
Okay. I have Dabinet in my glass, so 100% single varietal cider,
21.
and which is unusual to me for sparkling products in general, is that it's super tannic, but also structured, of course.
Yeah.
Dries out almost like astringent.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fading a bit now, so it's
Is this
tannins
freshly
are
pressed or on skins for a couple of hours or days?
freshly pressed.
And it's like this already. Wow.
But it's, I would say, just have a little bit of that. It's not Dabinet, it's Ellis bitter.
Okay.
So you can guess with the name, especially if you eat with the skins, you already have very quickly the tannins. And some variety are really high in tannins.
Wow.
So Ellis bitter is bitter, but it's not.
Wow.
Yeah, there is a reason why we are making cider with those apples, and then we're not eating them. So people say, "Oh, they are cider varieties," but in fact, it's when you have hundreds of varieties, you're like, "Oh, this one I like to eat it.
Yeah.
It's an eater apple. This one is very acidic. Let's cook it with some sugar. This one is bitter and
It reminds
let's
me a
make
bit of
some drinks."
an unripe walnut. Slightly
Okay,
nutty.
yeah.
Then you have the bitterness. But I mean, in a fruit salad, okay, but just purely,
Yeah.
it's heavy. Okay. I would say when we talk about people who are drinking cider currently, you have this huge pop culture, like I would say easier accessible style from the tap,
A bit sweeter
a bit
sometimes.
sweeter. So what is it? Thatcher's,
Bulmers, Strongbow.
Strongbow cider.
There's many. Then
Yeah.
some a bit more smaller. But yeah,
And of course, also more entry level, cheaper. You say if you buy it in the supermarket, it's probably 2, 3 pounds a bottle or something like this, maybe.
yeah, it's around 2 the can.
Yeah.
Top.
And then you have probably higher involved people in cider. We talked about you called it Somerset style, so people who know this kind of style.
Yeah, Dabinet is a Somerset variety, so you have some classical variety per region. I don't know all of them, but I know Somerset a bit. And yeah, they have most of the time these bittersweet, so not too much acids, higher alcohol, and then this tannic,
Yeah.
sometimes very high, sometimes just a bit more discreet, but yeah, sometimes very heavy.
What do they drink it with? What do they eat with it?
I don't know. It can be any pub food,
Okay.
it's not really a pairing things, it's
Apple pie?
maybe. I mean, it's more about you have a pint on the Friday evening, or when I'm supplying the apple at the moment, North Down Orchards, they have cider bar, just beside the cidery.
Yeah.
So it's direct, almost direct from the tank. And yeah, people come. I think they have some event with special like pork on the broach or thing like that. But most of the time, people just go to enjoy crafts.
But they
Craft
could be
cider.
considered more like being cider lovers.
Yeah, it's a bit like craft beer and
Yeah.
versus not craft beer.
Yeah. And then there's people like me who love like champagne made ciders.
Yeah.
So
So bottle conditioned.
high quality, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds maybe, something like this. And I guess it's a big challenge to bring this to the people.
Yes.
How can we convince people to buy cider or to at least try cider like this?
I mean, it's a bit like every wine or every drinks. I would say some people don't want to try the sour beer. They don't want to try. Just have to be curious in general and try. And then that might replace cider. That might replace sparkling wine on alcohol wise. I know Charlie Herring, colleague very close to here. He's selling his cider to a nice boat in London. So when you arrive on the boat, you have oyster and champagne normally, and they switch for oyster and sparkling cider from him.
Nice.
Because it's 6.5, maybe 7% top. So people, they have a full glass, they are not half drunk already because they didn't eat anything. So that might replacement low alcohol. That's one part. And then maybe just drink a bit less and go for more artisanal things. That is a bit of general, I think the general opinion is coming for wine, for food, meat, for example, better quality, a bit lower quantities.
So just try it out.
Yeah, and be curious because dry cider doesn't mean sharp. So there is something I have with English, the word dry. For me, it doesn't mean just no sugar. Doesn't say if it's acidic or not.
Yeah.
So all my cider are dry, but then the acidity level change.
Yeah.
So some looks drier or less dry, but for me they are all dry. And then the cider, which is a blend, so the idea is to have something more round, more
Balanced.
yeah, more balanced. With 2 bittersweet and 1 sharp variety. Then Dabinut, pure expression of the variety. So acidity, average, high tannins, side by cider cooking, more acidity focus. And then 2 others which are not released, orchard mix, which was orchard mix, like we do field blends. So I pick a bit of all the apple which were ready at this time in North Down orchards, give something quite round, appley. It's early in the season, so normally the bittersweet are more later season. So early season you have less tannins. They are a bit more apple and maybe a bit less complex. And then we have, what is it? Oh, we don't have the red cider.
Yeah, I was wondering if you want to talk about it. Yeah.
So
the
when
crazy
you
one.
when you make cider, this size is difficult to go to the pub because it's a bit bigger than a pint. So it's not usual in England to share a bottle of cider between friends. You more have a pint. So that is small pints if you are 2. But the idea was to try a few things with grape skins, which can work very well. So this one is Cabernet Noir skins after ferment, after press for the wine in the cider for a few weeks. And that brings tannins and a bit of redness, fruit. We had a bit of mushrooms on the nose. But yeah, that adds another layer of complexity, which was more a trial just to see. Maybe Cabernet Noir is not the answer. Maybe another less tannic.
Special one? Huh?
Yeah, maybe a less tannic or maybe a white grapes. Could be nice to try. Just love to try.
But I would rather serve a cider like this, like high quality cider, in a really high class wine glass.
Yes.
Just to give the people the feeling that they're drinking something special, rather than taking a glass of pint or a pint and just filling it up with because I mean, the 2 bottles are 3 pints.
Yes.
But I mean, maybe to drink it too fast and then you think, oh wow.
No, for me, you have to drink it,
glass.
to approach it like a wine.
Yeah.
Small glass or slightly bigger if you want, but you are more like in Burgundy. In Brittany, they have the bolet, so a bowl, which is probably 100 ml, or maybe 150, and you just top it up when you drink it.
Like the old champagne glasses, the flat ones.
I don't know this one. It's like a cereal bowl, but a small one. It's like this size. It's called, you say,
Without a stem.
No stem. It's a bowl.
Funny.
So he said, I want a bowl,
Okay.
a bowl of cider, un bol de cidre. And they just open the bottle. You can ask just for one, like a glass, or the full bottle, and you just help yourself.
Okay.
So you drink more per 100 ml at a time rather than a full pint. Yeah, it's a bit different approach.
Okay.
It goes very well with crepes.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So we have just to taste more, drink more, try more, talk more about it.
Yeah.
And then maybe it can replace or at least be a good alternative, especially with low alcohol levels in the future.
It is coming more and more.
And I mean, cider generally has been on the rise in the last year, especially in England. Good to know. Low
Craft
alcohol.
cider have been on the rise, especially.
Yeah.
Because the big brand, I think they are going slightly down. Like Magners pull out 500 hectares or huge, crazy amount of trees because they, too much.
So maybe in the future you will become a cider maker?
Maybe.
And if not, you have enough wine available?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you.
Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you on Saturday with the weekly update. Ciao, ciao.